Valentine's Day is coming up on February 14th, and it's often a bit of a question with young Jewish people as to whether Valentine's Day is something they should be celebrating or shouldn't be celebrating. On the one hand, it's named for Saint Valentine, so clearly that's not a Jewish holiday. But on the other hand, it's about romance and love, and isn't that a universal? So where exactly, it's kind of sitting in the middle there with all this indecision about what to do and what not to do. If we look at the history of the day, and we realize that it is named for Saint Valentine, but once we start to try to figure out who was this person, even in going through church records, we're not exactly sure. There were 3 people with the name Valentine, and we're really trying to track their stories to know what did they have to do with this day. And one of the possibilities, one of the theories, is that there was a priest in Rome about the 3rd century of the Common Era, so about the middle 200s, who was living at the time of Claudius II. And Claudius II decided that single men made much better soldiers than married men, because married men won't take risks, but single men will take risks. So that makes them the more courageous, the warrior, the better soldier. And because of that, he outlawed marriage, that single men who were eligible for the army and of army age were not allowed to be married. And this really delivered a blow to love and romance and the continuity of family and home. And so the priest named Valentine would meet them in secret and perform these secret marriages so that in fact they could be married and could fulfill their personal wishes, but at the same time on record remain single. And because the church so valued what he had done and this idea of being able to marry people by the church even when the emperor says that they can't be married was celebrated, and hence we have St. Valentine's Day. And according to that theory, February 14th is the day that he died, and therefore that is the day that's named for him and the day that's celebrated for love. It's a beautiful story, but it has really nothing to do with Jewish history and really nothing to do with the Jewish people. The other theory is that originally the holiday in February 14th, was an ancient Roman pagan holiday, and that this was a holiday of fertility, in which women were gathered and rites of the land were performed, and there were sacrifices and there were things done with leather and all kinds of rituals to both the land and women, so that the women would be fertile and the land would be fertile. And at the end of the ceremony, all the women's names were placed in a big urn, and the single men would come up and pull out the name of a woman, and that would be his match for the year. And for the year, they would live together as husband and wife, and then come back on the following year on this fertility holiday and switch it up a little bit. And so what the church did, according to this theory, was to take that day, because they so disapproved of what was going on, and create St. Valentine's Day around that day, so that elements of matching and pairing and love and romance were still there, but it was now filtering through the church and not through pagan Roman practice. Again, really interesting, but doesn't have much to do with Judaism at all. This is all rich with church history and rich with the development of the church in the early times and being able to move the population away from a pagan belief toward a Christian belief. But the idea of love and romance is universal, and in fact we do have such a day in Judaism. It's just not February 14th. The Hebrew calendar date is the 15th B'Av. So in the month of Av, on the 15th day, that is the day that we have a celebration of love and romance. And it's actually coming out of the book of Judges. It's coming out of a time when, unfortunately, there was a civil war in Israel, and we'd almost wiped out the entire tribe of Benjamin. And the way to keep the Benjaminites as a tribe and to have them grow and flourish as a tribe, there was a fictional event, meaning that it was said to be an event when the women would go out into the field and the Benjamite men could then take them as wives, but the women going into the field knew this. So I say fictional in the sense that it was all sort of for show, but really they knew what was going on. And because the women took part in this and in being instrumental to this, it's seen as a day of love where women can initiate. And women can be the ones that are active. And from the ancient world, that's absolutely phenomenal. So from the Jewish perspective, St. Valentine's Day is a lovely holiday. It just doesn't speak to us as much as Tu B'Av speaks to us. The day that happens in the summer that celebrates not just the romance and love of men and women, but the empowerment of women as well.